A 5-year commitment to go to a land and a people we knew nothing about.
To fly over the ocean to the other side of the world, to possibly live in a hut.
To leave our world as we knew it, to trust the going,
the leaving,
and the doing, all to the God who has proven himself over and over again.
A God who provides a home, protection,
answers to every question, solutions to every problem,
and comfort in every trial.
A God who makes himself known to common man.
A heavenly Father who loves like no other, a friend who sticks closer than a brother.
And a spiritual guide who was always there making his way clear. The Thailand team has seen thousands saved, hundreds baptized, 2 strong churches planted, and men, women, and families growing spiritually, serving in the church and reaching their own people for Christ.
Our first days and months in Thailand were very enlightening, seeing what it's like to live in a country that has not been as blessed as our own, not having many of the benefits of an environment of law and order.
The Thai people in general are simple in their way of doing things. The common person gets up early and does what is necessary to make enough money to feed themselves and their families, sometimes working from sunup to 10 or 11 o'clock at night, making only the equivalent of a few American dollars. Food stands provide food that sits in the heat for sometimes the entire day.
It was our privilege to be able to hire Thai people to clean and iron for us so we could help them to have a little bit of money to feed their families. The Thai people are some of the most precious people you could ever meet.
They are kind, humble, and fun-loving with true servant hearts.
Many grandmothers take care of their grandbabies whose parents have walked away from them. There's nothing more dear than a Thai grandmother who has given her life to care for the helpless little babies who've been left behind.
The mothers and fathers who do stay to care for the children are good parents, always there, meeting every need that they may have.
I had the privilege of being in charge of the nursery and grew to love these adorable babies and their mothers.
Though market prices are negotiable, it's sometimes difficult to ask them to come down in price because you know you may be taking away some of their hard-earned money. Our first days of telling the Thai people about Christ were a bit uncertain because we weren't sure what they believed and what we would have to get through to give them the truth.
But it didn't take us long to find out that they knew they were sinners and were amazed that someone loved them enough to give his life for them to keep them from an eternity in hell.
Once they received the truth of the gospel, it wasn't easy to get them to the place of growing in the Lord, because many of them had obstacles to overcome, like working 7 days a week for 10 hours a day, or alcoholism, or the need to watch their homes so that thieves would not come and steal everything they owned while they were away.
The common Thai person often lived in a small shack and lived in very poor conditions. One of our dearest families lived on a dump with a trash heap for a playground for their babies.
Others lived in one-room apartments. All of them loved coming to church where they were fed, encouraged, and loved by the Thailand team, with whom we were blessed to work together in making a difference for Christ.
Even though we did expect to have to live in a hut on the mission field, God gave us 2 beautiful homes, one before the devastating flood 3.5 years after we arrived, and one after we moved to the new area south of our first home and church.
The flood, which covered 2/3 of the country of Thailand with toxic waters, was a tool that God used to open up a broader ministry for the Thailand team. We relocated to an area where the possibility of costly flooding would not again consume the sacrificial gifts of God's people. For 9 months after the flood, our team traveled 3 hours each way every Sunday to keep our members spiritually fed and growing until a national pastor could take the ministry over.
The greatest blessings connected with our homes were the relationships we were able to have with our neighbors and our owners.
One neighbor was saved as she went into the hospital with cancer. Then her daughter, husband, mother, aunt, and sister were saved as well.
Our owner in the new area was also saved and became a sweet friend.
We were able to give the gospel to some Swedish people as we took morning walks with them.
My Swedish friend Anita came for lunch one day and asked the Lord to save her.
Our main responsibility together was in the Christian school, teaching the team children and a few Thai students.
Though we lost all but one of our Thai students when the flood hit, we were able to have that one student living with us for nearly a year and a half.
Tan was a huge blessing to us as he helped us with the language, was a translator many times when we tried to reach the Thai people, and became like a younger brother to our driver.
Our driver Nung and his daughter came to church and were saved and baptized.
One thing we saw over and over again as we yielded to God and what He had for our lives was that if we were willing to do what He wanted, that He would open doors for us to be used.
He assured us that if we were willing to tell people about Him, that He would sometimes bring them to us. Many times, God gave us very special and unique opportunities, like this Buddhist nun who got saved along with 3 other ladies.
Like these 5 children who have become regular attenders who also bring their friends.
Like this Burmese young man who got saved, and we were able to get a Bible to him in his own language.
God brought me a young man to tutor whose family was from India. We became friends with his family.
God gave us both the opportunity to teach English to the Thai people. What a great opportunity to invest in these little lives.
Even as we left the country, one of our Thai students, whom we hadn't seen for over 2 years, surprised us by coming to visit us to say goodbye at the airport.
He brought a friend with him who was so eager to hear about what Jesus had done for her and opened up her heart to Him. Our experience in Thailand was a gift from the Lord, adding richness to our lives and our service for Him.
We're thankful for His plan of using teams to work together to strengthen and help each other, to be there for each other, to accomplish greater things for Him. He gave us a great group of adults and children alike to meet physical, spiritual, and emotional needs.
Our hearts have been knit with these dear friends, along with the precious Thai people.
Though the time has come for us to leave the mission field of Thailand, our labor and your investment will continue to reap dividends for years to come, as well as for eternity.
Though we were willing to stay for more than the 5 years we had committed to, if God so desired, He made it clear to us that it was time to come back to America to continue to serve Him here. Thailand is a beautiful place, where God's handiwork is clearly seen. It has left an indelible mark on our hearts, but we are thankful to be home with our family.
And are excited to be used to make a bigger difference in our own land. Thank you for your faithful prayers and support.
Of the mercies I have known, I know it may sound simple, but it's more than a cliche. No other words to tell you than to say